Rink Vancouver. Pre-game, post-game, every game presented by Bodog. With sports odds to free casino games, make a play at Bodog.net. Wadden and JPat here with you with another edition of the pre-game show as the Canucks limp into Rogers Arena again tonight, JPat. 2 straight losses after those 3 big road wins. But hey, the Arizona Coyotes are in town. Always a good remedy when you're in a losing streak.
Well, yeah, but the Coyotes, I'm sure, are thinking the same thing as they face the Vancouver Canucks. So let's see what happens here. Coyotes have 1 win in their last 8 games, but as you mentioned, the Canucks are in no position to take anybody lightly after the brutal performances at home against Washington and then the other night against Florida. And of course, all sorts of storylines now. Not only the injury to Thatcher Demko, we thought that was going to be the big news today, but how about this one? Brock Boeser, a healthy scratch for the first time since those first 2 games as a rookie when Travis Green parked him before he got his chance to make his NHL. Well, he made his NHL debut coming out of college, but then that start of the next year, he was a healthy scratch for a couple of games. It's been a while, but Brock Boeser is going to be sitting down here tonight, won't play against these Coyotes.
All right, let's get to the lineup change presented by Delaney's OK Tire on Fraser Highway out there in Langley. You heard about Boeser, Demko's injury, so it looks like Spencer Martin going to get the start and goal.
Yeah, not a surprise, and it's going to be his net. There were reports last night from Elliot Friedman, 6 weeks for Thatcher Demko. The Canucks confirming that timeline. Now, of course, that's imprecise, but certainly out through the new year at the very least. At some point in January, I guess he'd be reevaluated, but it's going to be Spencer Martin's net for the most part. Colin Delia up as the backup. With a 6-week gap there between Demko appearances, Delia is going to get some game action at some point, but in the short term, this is Spencer Martin's net, and he'll get an opportunity to run with it, and maybe a nice way to sort of ease into being the number 1 guy against a Coyotes team that is 31st in the National Hockey League in overall offense and 32nd and last in 5-on-5 offense.
Bit of a milestone for Bruce Boudreau as well, as 82nd game coaching with the Vancouver Canucks.
Yeah, so 1 full season, of course, it was this weekend last year, the first weekend in December, when the Canucks got the big broom out and did the house cleaning, and out went Travis Green and Nolan Baumgartner and Jim Benning and John Weisbrod and others, and Bruce Boudreau was brought in, and of course the Canucks got that Bruce bump right away, got on a nice winning streak, and were able to turn their season in the right direction. Obviously this year, things haven't started the way the Canucks or Boudreau would want, but when you look at his record over the 81 games that he has coached for the Vancouver Canucks, 41, 27, and 13. You add all of that up, it's 95 points. Now, the cutoff for the second and final wild card playoff position last year was 97 points. So, 95 points puts you in that ballpark. But again, it brings up this conversation. What's the point of trying to just squeeze into that final playoff spot? People here in Vancouver have seen enough. They want a contender. And so there is still plenty of work to be done.
Too quiet from the top guys as of recent, and that power play, which was red hot, has gone ice cold, JPat.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of been lost in the shuffle of just how bad the performances have been and some of the other storylines, Demko. But you're right, this power play that had been feasting on opponents, it's only tallied in 1 of its last 6 games. Now, it went to town last Saturday, a week ago, in Vegas when it scored 3 times. So, impossible to say that it hasn't been heard from over the last little while. But in 5 of the last 6 games, the Canucks have not scored a power play goal. So, yeah, you want your top-end guys to get back at it, to be difference makers, and especially against a team like the Coyotes that doesn't have a ton of top-end talent. Like, this is an opportunity for some of the Canucks' big names to step up and really take this team back in the right direction after the losses to the Capitals and the Florida Panthers.
Bruce Boudreau, as mentioned, closing in on a milestone. Well, Luke Schenn is as well.
He is. Since the league started tracking hits, Luke Schenn trails just 1 defenseman all time in terms of that category. And we know that he had 12 hits in a game in Toronto earlier this season. That's one of 3 occasions when he's had 12 hits. That's a franchise record in a game. He's 5 behind Brooks Orpik, though. So if he gets those 5 hits tonight, or if it happens on Monday against the Montreal Canadiens, home fans will have a chance to respond. I don't think that they're going to shut the league or the game down. Players aren't going to pour off the bench to congratulate the sheriff. But, this is the game that he plays. We're talking all-time for defensemen. There are forwards, Cal Clutterbuck, Dustin Brown, Alex Ovechkin among the all-time leaders in that category. But when it comes to guys that play the defense position, there's only 1 guy since the league started tracking these statistics that has accomplished more or finished more, I suppose, hits than Luke Schenn, and that is Brooks Orpik. So, Schenn looking to take his spot in the NHL unofficial record book with 5 more hits in this hockey game tonight.
Arizona has surprised people this year with the amount of wins that they have already, but they've only got one in their last 8, and this is game 12 of a 14-game road trip, JPat.
Yeah, it ties the league record held by the Vancouver Canucks in that 2010 Olympic year when they were forced out of Rogers Arena, or GM Place before Rogers Arena, or Canada Hockey Place as it was known during the Olympic Games. But that was broken up. It was 8 on one side and 6 on the other, or 6 on one side, 8 on the other. This has been 14 straight for the Nomads that are the Arizona Coyotes, making their way all around the National Hockey League. There is a home game next Friday night on the horizon for them. They've played 4 times in that little bandbox Mullet Arena, the 4,600 capacity building on the campus of Arizona State University. But for the most part, they have been away from home. All of their preseason games were out of Phoenix, and now 20 of their first 24. So they'll play in Vancouver tonight. They move on to the 2 Alberta teams, and that will wrap up this 14-game odyssey. But you're right. I think they have surprised some people. They were 6-1, 13 games into the season, which, all things considered, with all of that stacked against you and the roster that they've got, not a terrible start for the Arizona Coyotes, but they have sort of come crashing back down to earth, and perhaps all that travel has caught up with them. Whatever the case, 1 victory in their last 8, and so the Canucks certainly want to add to their miseries as they round out this road trip.
Goaltender Karel Vejmelka, though, has been a bright spot for the Yotes this year. Some really good stats for the Coyotes goaltender when you consider the roster that's in front of him.
Right, and I think perspective and context matters here. He doesn't have a whole lot of help in front of him, but this is a guy that's rocking a .913 save percentage. Again, on a team that doesn't score a lot of goals, isn't terribly strong defensively, and yet Karel Vejmelka has a couple of shutouts already this season, including one in Carolina. So, when he's in there, he gives his team a chance, and he has 6 of the Coyotes' 7 victories to his credit. He is expected to get the start tonight. So, in that regard, Canucks shooters are going to have to be careful. They're going to have to find ways to beat this guy because he has shown when he's on his game, he can single-handedly rack up a victory for the Arizona Coyotes.
Yeah, and Canucks are going to have to look out for this guy as well. Clayton Keller quietly having himself a pretty decent season.
Yeah, he's a terrific skater, gets around the ice so well, and terrific offensive skills. You do wonder if he was surrounded by a little bit more firepower. How dangerous could he be? But a point-a-game guy, and again, all of these road games where the Coyotes don't have the last change, so other teams have been able to try to match up against him. I think that's pretty impressive, all things considered, to have 21 points through the team's first 21 games, and he's somebody that the Canucks are going to have to keep an eye on tonight.
And a lot of Vancouver representation here with the Coyotes, JPat, and including a dad that's behind the bench.
Yeah, I mean, last year, of course, the connections to the Coyotes were Louis Eriksson and Jay Beagle and Antoine Roussel, and those contracts are all up, and all of those guys are out of the National Hockey League. But yeah, there are still lots of connections here, and former Canucks, Troy from Richmond, Troy Stetcher, Zach Cassian, of course, is now in Arizona. Travis Boyd made a pit stop here during that COVID season, so he's got some Canuck connections as well. And then, you're right, Riley Stillman is a bit of a flashpoint when we talk about the Vancouver Canucks defense, and it looks like he's going to stay in, paired with Tyler Myers. His dad, Corey, on the other side as an assistant coach now for the Arizona Coyotes. And I mentioned those 3 guys that were traded from Vancouver to Arizona. Of course, the Coyotes got a first-round pick in that deal. Dylan Guenther is a fine rookie. He was a top 10 pick, and he's always going to be linked to the Canucks and what might have been had they held on to that pick. Instead, they sent it along with those 3 veterans in the big contracts, OEL and Connor Garland, coming back this direction. But keep an eye on Dylan Guenther. He looks like he's going to be a good one, and certainly a big part of what the Arizona Coyotes are trying to put together down there in the desert.
Let's get to my Bodog Best Bet now. With Brock Besser being out, that means Andrei Kuzmenko is guaranteed to be on the top unit on the power play, JPat, and that's where I see him scoring tonight. Anytime goal scorer, Andrei Kuzmenko at plus 175.
Yeah, pulled the trigger in overtime in San Jose. That was his last goal. And, of course, we talked a little bit earlier about Canucks' big guns, whether it's Horvat, whether it's Miller, whether it's Elias Pettersson. You put Kuzmenko in that category, and none of those guys has shown particularly well here to start the homestand. So another opportunity against an Arizona team that can give up opportunities, as we said. Their special teams not particularly special, so whether it's on the power play, whether it's at even strength, I like that one for you. Andrei Kuzmenko scoring an anytime goal.
And you got a chance to win some Bodog Bucks tonight. We got $50 more to give away. Here's what you got to do. Head to @RinkWide Podcast on Twitter. Look for the post. Give the time and the period of the game-winning goal. The closest guest will win that $50. And of course, you must have a Bodog account. And if you'd like to as well, you can leave it below in the comments. We'll put all those into the draw. And good luck to those that get in. $50 on Bodog. Woof, that can go a long way.
Big Saturday night if you come up with the time and the period, as we said, of the game-winning goal. So get in on the action. Yeah, leave us a comment as you're watching this. Just drop us the line there. Get in on the action and see if you can be our winner here as the Canucks take on the Coyotes.
All right. Who's going to be a winner tonight, JPat? Who's going to do something in this game?
Yeah, this one seems pretty easy for me. Bo Horvat has not gone 4 games without a goal all season. He's had one 3-game stretch earlier where he was held without a goal. Now, we know that the total is impressive. He's the leader. He's been among the league leaders, although Jason Robertson starting to pull away. Jason Robertson scoring everybody's goals now, his own, and it feels like he's getting his share of other people's too. Absolutely incredible what he's doing down in Dallas. Bo Horvat needs to get back on that goal-scoring horse, and they look to him. He's one of their leaders. It's going to be Miller and Höglander on his wings at even strength, but of course, he takes that bumper spot on the power play. And you just kind of feel like it's hard to say he's overdue because it's only been 3 games, but that feels like an eternity for Bo Horvat. Scored the 5th Canuck goal in Vegas last Saturday night. So it's been a full week since he has put a puck in the net. He's the captain. He's the leader after 2 subpar performances on his watch. This team needs to get things moving back in the right direction. So I look to the captain to do something to help the Vancouver Canucks tonight.
All right, here is our Wired Snowboard code word for today. This is what you got to do to win the Wired Snowboard, a 2023 Recon Series snowboard valued at $579.99. Send the code word in to the Great Clips inbox at 778-402-9680. That'll get you into that draw, and do it daily, folks. The more you do it, the better your odds to win that snowboard. And thanks to Wired Snowboards for providing yet another board. Okay, JPat, we'll see if the Canucks can snap this losing streak now with the Yotes in town. They're going to have to do it with the backup goaltender, Spencer Martin, now taking the reins in goal. This has been another edition of the Rink Wide Vancouver podcast, presented by Bodog. For Jeff Patterson, I'm Andrew Wadden. Remember, Rink Wide is the show that always scores.